When my little brother crashed my car, my dad said, "You always were the responsible one. You'll figure out how to pay for it." I just nodded and replied, "Don't worry, I have a plan." 2 months later, they weren't ready for the bill I sent. Now my phone won't stop ringing. "Please don't do this to us." I guess I should have seen this coming. After being the family ATM and personal handyman for the past 8 years, why would this situation be any different? It was last Tuesday. I had just finished a 12-hour shift, and my back was killing me from replacing the transmission on this ancient Civic that should have been junked years ago. All I wanted was to grab some Taco Bell, crash on my couch, and maybe catch up on that new Netflix show everyone's been talking about. That plan died the second I walked through my parents' front door and saw my mom's face. You know that look? The one that says, "Something terrible happened, but I'm going to try to sugarcoat it" look. She didn't even need to speak. I just said, "Where's Isaac?" And she pointed toward the backyard. I found my little brother, 19, sitting on the old picnic table, staring at his phone like it held the secrets of the universe. When I asked where my car was, he just shrugged and mumbled something about a little fender bender, without even looking up from his TikTok scrolling. For context, my 2018 Subaru WRX isn't some fancy luxury car, but it's mine. I saved for 3 years working overtime to put down $8,000 and have been making $436 monthly payments for the past 2 years. It's the one nice thing I own. I keep that thing cleaner than an operating room and change the oil every 3,000 miles without fail. When I walked around to the driveway and saw what was left of my front end, I nearly had a stroke. This wasn't a fender bender. This was a full-on collision. The entire front passenger side was caved in, headlight dangling by its wires, bumper practically dragging on the ground, radiator fluid making a sick green puddle underneath. If cars could cry, mine would be sobbing. But here's where it gets truly messed up. When I confronted Isaac about how the hell this happened, my dad came storming out of his workshop like I was the one who'd done something wrong. He started with the usual speech about how Isaac was just being a teenager, and how the car was just a material possession, and accidents happen. Well, no shit, Dad. That's why we have insurance. Except we don't. Not for this. Isaac wasn't on my policy, APBC. He wasn't supposed to be driving my car in the first place. And when I pointed this out, you want to know what my dad said? He looked me straight in the eye and hit me with the classic line he's been using since I was 12. "You always were the responsible one, Wade. You'll figure out how to pay for it." Like that's some kind of compliment? Like being responsible means I should clean up everyone else's messes? I've spent my entire life being the responsible one. When Isaac needed new soccer cleats but Dad was between jobs, I paid for them. When the washing machine broke and Mom was freaking out about laundry piling up, I spent my weekend fixing it. When Dad's truck needed new tires, but his credit card was maxed out, guess who covered that bill? It took me 27 years to realize responsible is just their code for sucker. After my dad dropped that bombshell, I just stared at him while doing the mental math. $4,000 minimum for repairs, probably closer to 5. My savings account had $5,786.42 in it, money I've been putting aside for trade school, money that represents hundreds of hours of my life, busting my ass under the hoods of other people's cars. Then I found out what actually happened. Isaac borrowed my car, translation, took my spare key without asking, to impress some girl he's been trying to hook up with, drove to the lookout point near Miller's Pond, where all the high school kids go to make out, then managed to back my car into a drainage ditch because he was trying to take a sunset selfie for his Insta story. My car. My beautiful, meticulously maintained car. The worst part? The way Isaac told me this. Like it was a funny story he was sharing over beers with his bros. Zero remorse. Zero acknowledgement that he'd just flushed thousands of my dollars down the toilet. My mother stood there making excuses for him, while my father acted like I was overreacting for being upset. I didn't explode, though. Something inside me just shifted, like gears grinding when someone who doesn't know how to drive stick tries to shift without using the clutch. I went cold and quiet. I looked at my dad and just nodded. "Don't worry," I said. "I have a plan." The look on my mom's face was worth photographing. She knows me well enough to recognize when I'm done playing Mr. Nice Guy. My dad just grunted and went back to his precious workshop, probably assuming I'd handle everything like I always do. The next morning I called my buddy Tristan, who works at the body shop, to come take a look. The damage was even worse than I thought. $4,825 for parts and labor, minimum. That's with Tristan's friend discount. After Tristan left, I sat in my apartment and stared at my bank account on my laptop screen. For the first time, I started thinking about all the money my family has drained from me over the years, all the emergency loans that were never repaid, all the repairs I've done for free, all the times I've covered Isaac's ass when he screwed up. My friend Monica stopped by with coffee and found me surrounded by old bank statements. When I explained what happened, she didn't give me the usual "but their family" speech. Instead, she handed me a notebook and said something that changed everything. "Start writing it all down. Every single penny they've taken, every hour of labor, every favor. Add it up, and then decide what to do." So that's what I've been doing for the past week. 8 years of financial records, 8 years of text messages asking for small loan, 8 years of being the family bailout fund. The number I'm reaching is staggering. It's way more than just car repair money. Way more. This isn't about the money, though. Not really. It's about respect. It's about 8 years of being taken for granted. It's about my little brother destroying the one nice thing I have and everyone expecting me to just roll over and take it because I'm the responsible one. Not this time. My plan is coming together, and when I'm done, they're going to understand exactly what my responsibility has been worth to them. In dollars and cents, I've started putting together an itemized bill. Every loan, every repair, every favor. With interest. They want responsible. I'll show them responsible. I'll update when I drop this nuclear bomb on them. In the meantime, I'm learning a lot about myself and what I've allowed to happen all these years. And I'm done being everyone's doormat. The bill is growing every day, and they have no idea what's coming. Update. Hey Reddit. OP from the Crashed Car Saga, back with an update. Holy crap! I wasn't expecting my post to blow up like this. Reading your comments felt like finally being heard after years of shouting into the void. Some of you called me petty. Most of you said I should have done this years ago. You're both right. So it's been 7 weeks since Isaac turned my Subaru into a very expensive origami project. My spreadsheet has evolved into something that would make an accountant weep tears of joy. And the worst part? My family is still hitting me up for stuff like nothing happened. The morning after I started my receipt archaeology project, my dad texted asking if I could swing by and look at their dishwasher that's making a funny noise. Mind you, this is less than 24 hours after telling me to figure out how to pay for my brother's destruction derby adventure. I didn't respond, which is apparently the digital equivalent of slapping him in the face, because an hour later, my mom sent one of those passive-aggressive texts only moms can craft. "Your father asked for your help? Is everything okay with you?" No, everything is not okay. But I just replied, "Busy, can't today," and added, "Dishwasher diagnostic, $85 to my spreadsheet." Let me walk you through my system, because it's become my new hobby. I've split the bill into 4 categories. 1. Direct loans, money they borrowed that was never repaid. 2. Services rendered, repairs, installations, manual labor. 3. Subscriptions and bills I've covered, their Netflix, Prime, phone bill bailouts. 4. Destroyed, damaged property, Isaac's greatest hits collection. The direct loans alone are staggering. $3,000 for my dad's truck repair in 2019. $1,200 for my mom's root canal that their insurance wouldn't cover. $850 for Isaac's laptop for school, aka gaming. Countless smaller loans of $20, $50, $100 that were always promised to be repaid next week. I'm adding 8% annual interest to everything, less than a credit card would charge them, so I'm being generous. Thanks you, financial revenge guru, for that suggestion. The services category made me realize I've basically been my family's unpaid handyman for nearly a decade. Fixing the washing machine, 4 hours of labor at $75 per hour. Installing their ceiling fans, $150. Rebuilding Dad's deck last summer, 27 hours of labor, plus I covered the hardware costs, $622, that he still hasn't paid me back for. My friend Tristan came over last weekend and helped me organize everything. He's good with spreadsheets and formatting, and even he was shocked as the numbers kept climbing. We ordered pizza, cracked open some beers, and made a whole night of calculating just how much my family has taken advantage of me. Nothing like bonding over financial trauma. Am I right? The subscription section was eye-opening too. 3 years of paying for the family Netflix that 6 different people use, covering my mom's phone bill 4 times when she forgot to pay it, renewing their annual memberships to streaming services because you're so good with the computer stuff, Wade. Here's what's really messed up. While I've been compiling this list, they've continued to use me as their personal bank handyman. 2 weeks ago, Isaac had the audacity to ask if he could borrow $200 for concert tickets. When I said no, he looked at me like I'd just admitted to kicking puppies as a hobby. My dad overheard and made some comment about how I was becoming stingy in my old age. I'm 27. The most infuriating part? My car is still sitting in my parents' driveway with its smashed front end because I can't afford to fix it until my next paycheck. Meanwhile, Isaac just posted pics on Insta from some weekend trip to the lake with his friends. Apparently, he has money for that, but not for fixing the car he destroyed. My sister Freya noticed something was different last week when I refused to help move their old couch to the basement. She cornered me in the kitchen and asked what was going on. I just shrugged and said I was tired of being taken for granted. She got this weird look on her face, half guilty, half worried, and admitted she's noticed it too, but never said anything because it was convenient for her. At least she was honest. The bill has now reached $37,483.22. No, that's not a typo. 8 years of financial exploitation adds up fast. Last night I stopped by Tristan's place to finalize the format of the invoice. We decided on a professional template with itemized sections, dates, amounts, and running interest calculation. It ended up being 12 pages long. 12 pages. Printed single-sided because I wanted the physical weight of it to make an impression. I had a moment of doubt while we were putting it together. Was I taking this too far? Was I about to nuke my relationship with my entire family over money? But then I remembered sitting in my apartment, staring at my bank account, realizing I could barely afford to fix my own car because I've spent years fixing everyone else's problems. This isn't about money. It's about respect. This morning my mom texted asking if I could come over for Sunday dinner tomorrow. Apparently she's making my favorite lasagna as a thank you for being so patient about the car situation. The car situation. Like Isaac spilled some soda on my seat instead of causing thousands in damage. I said I'd be there. What they don't know is that I'm bringing the invoice with me. I plan to leave it on the dining room table right before I leave. I've booked an Airbnb 2 hours away for the weekend to give them time to process it without me there to yell at. I'll turn my phone to silent and enjoy a weekend completely disconnected from their drama for the first time in years. The bill doesn't just represent money they owe me. It represents years of being treated like an ATM with legs. Years of hearing, "You're so responsible," instead of "thank you." Years of watching Isaac get bailed out while I drown, trying to keep everyone afloat. Part of me feels nervous about dropping this bomb. The other part, the part that spent the last 8 years being everyone's safety net, can't wait to see their faces when they realize the net has finally worn through. I'll update again after the fallout. Wish me luck, Reddit. Or don't. At this point, I'm doing this with or without anyone's approval. Update 2. Well, Reddit. You asked for an update, and holy shit, do I have one. That Airbnb weekend I mentioned? Best money I've ever spent. While I was relaxing in a cabin with spotty Wi-Fi and decent whiskey, my family was having a complete meltdown. I came back Sunday night to find 47 missed calls and over 70 text messages. 70! My voicemail was maxed out. My phone battery literally died from the constant notifications before I even got home. After charging it, I scrolled through the increasingly desperate messages from my family. The progression was fascinating, like watching the 5 stages of grief play out in real time through text bubbles. First came the confusion. Mom asking if this was some kind of joke. Dad demanding to know what the hell I was thinking. Isaac sending a single WTF bro, followed by a string of question marks. Then the anger. Dad saying I'd lost my mind. Mom saying I was being cruel and childish. The word ungrateful appeared approximately 23 times across various messages. Next, the bargaining. Mom offering to pay for the car repairs if I'd stop this nonsense. Dad suggesting we talk about a reasonable number. Even Isaac offered to help pay for some of it, whatever that means, coming from someone with no job and apparently unlimited concert money. Depression hit around hour 30. Mom's texts got really emotional, talking about how I was tearing the family apart and how she didn't raise me to be so cold. Dad went radio silent for a while. Isaac sent a weirdly reflective message at 3 a.m. about how he never meant to take advantage. Finally, acceptance, sort of. By Sunday morning, the tone had shifted. Dad sent a stiff message acknowledging that some of these expenses are legitimate, but that my approach was inappropriate. Mom asked if we could please just talk about this face-to-face. And here's the kicker. Isaac actually sent a sincere-sounding apology about the car. I decided to let them stew for another day before responding, partly because I was still enjoying my peace and quiet, and partly because 27 years of being taken for granted deserved at least 72 hours of making them sweat. Monday morning, I texted a simple group message. I'd be coming by after work to discuss the bill, and I expected all of them to be there. No excuses. Mom immediately responded with an offer of dinner, which I declined. This wasn't going to be a social call. Walking into that house was surreal. The energy was like walking into a funeral, where nobody knows what to say to the grieving family. Mom looked like she hadn't slept. Dad had that clenched jaw thing he does when he's trying not to explode. Isaac was slouched on the couch, staring at his phone but not actually scrolling, just using it as a shield. The invoice was laid out on the dining room table, coffee rings already staining pages 3 and 7. They'd clearly been poring over it for days. For the first 20 minutes, nobody seemed to know what to say. Mom tried the whole "we're family" angle. Dad went with "this is ridiculous," but couldn't actually point to anything specific that wasn't accurate. Isaac just kept staring at his shoes like they held the secrets of the universe. Then something unexpected happened. When Dad started in on how I was being selfish, Isaac actually spoke up. He told Dad that I wasn't wrong, that they'd all been using me as a safety net for years without thinking about what it cost me, that crashing my car wasn't an accident. It was the result of him thinking there would be no consequences because there never had been before. I've never seen my father so speechless, or my mother so shocked, or honestly, Isaac showing anything resembling self-awareness. That's when I laid it out simple. I didn't actually expect them to pay me $43,000. Yeah, the total had grown with interest. What I wanted was 3 things. 1. Isaac would pay for my car repairs. All of them. If that meant getting a job, selling his gaming setup, or returning those new wireless earbuds he was wearing, I didn't care. 2. Dad would acknowledge his double standard, how he'd always expected me to fix everything while letting Isaac skate by with zero responsibility. 3. From now on, any loans would be treated as actual loans, with terms, repayment schedules, and consequences for missing payment. Dad tried to argue that I was being unreasonable, that families help each other without keeping score. I reminded him that helping and being exploited are different things, and pulled out my phone to show him my bank balance. $412. That's what being the family ATM had left me with. That hit him where it hurt. Dad's always been obsessed with financial security, constantly lecturing us about saving money and being independent. Seeing that his responsible son was practically broke because of their constant demands finally seemed to connect. The next 2 hours were tense, but productive in a way family confrontations rarely are. Mom cried. Dad yelled. Isaac sulked. I stayed calm. The usual family dynamics, just with higher stakes. By the end, we had an actual written agreement. Isaac would get a weekend job and pay $400 a month until the repair costs were covered. Dad would match Isaac's payments as his own acknowledgement of responsibility in creating this situation, and there would be no more casual requests for money or labor without explicit agreement on repayment. I stopped by yesterday to check progress. It's been 2 weeks since the reckoning, as I'm now calling it. Isaac had already made his first payment. In cash, handed over with minimal eye contact but no complaint. Dad had written a check for his portion, along with a stiff note about moving forward as a family. Mom is still walking on eggshells around me, like I might whip out another invoice if she says the wrong thing. My car is finally in the shop getting fixed. I'm enrolled in night classes starting next month, using money that would have gone to bailing out my family for whatever crisis they manufactured that week. The most interesting change? The requests have stopped. No more texts asking me to come fix the Wi-Fi. No more calls about lending someone $50 until payday. No more expectations that I'll drop everything to solve their problems. My sister Freya called yesterday saying the family dynamic has completely shifted. Dad's making Isaac handle his own issues instead of throwing money at them. Mom's stopped enabling everyone. It's like they've all had to grow up overnight. Is it awkward? Extremely. Is it worth it? Absolutely. To everyone who called me petty in my original post, you were right. This was petty. Sometimes petty is the only language people understand when "please respect my boundaries" doesn't work for 8 straight years. To those who said I'd regret nuking my family relationships, maybe someday I will. But right now, all I feel is relief. Relief that I can finally breathe without the weight of everyone else's problems on my shoulders. Relief that my bank account is actually growing instead of constantly being drained. Relief that, for once in my life, I'm not the responsible one. I'm just Wade, looking out for Wade.